So you're playing football, right? I mean, like dad, right? You getting into mechanics though. Once you start to get a quarterback right away, or did he just let you play for a few years and then you get into high school and you start doing that and working on it that way, right? How did that process kind of work out as you started to become more evolved as a quarterback?
We worked on mechanics growing up, and I would do some three-step drops and some some footwork, and he would teach me how to throw the football, but it wasn't like every throw he was trying to critique me or correct me.
Yeah,
He
sure.
kind of let me go out there and play. But I do think the repetitions that we got, I probably bothered him a lot about the game and playing, and so I was I think developed by the time I got into seventh and eighth grade. I was a little bit further along than others throwing the ball, because he had been in my life teaching me for so long, and so that's just all I knew. So when I started throwing, I was hopefully doing it the right way, and learn some of those habits early on, so I didn't develop bad habits that he had to overcoach at the end.
Did you realize like your arm was special before that? Did you already know, like when you were in fifth grade playing flag football, or did you know, wait, my arm's pretty damn good? Or was there a moment in seventh, eighth, ninth grade where you're like, wait, my arm's a little different than the rest of the guys we're playing against or at my school here?
Well, that's an interesting question. I think, growing up, I was able to throw and do the little things that was a little bit, it separated me a little bit from the other kids. But at the same time, that was like, we were all growing and developing. So really, I knew I was going to be able to, throw and be athletic and all that, but I didn't know how, big or how athletic I would end up being. So sometimes to make it to college football, you got to meet the size requirements, or
Yeah.
you got to be certain athleticism, and your arm kind of evolves as you go. So middle school, high school, it was about ninth, 10th grade to where I started developing a little bit, and was like, what, I think I'll be big and strong enough with a good enough arm to go and play college. And then from there, once you make it to college, you start putting your sights on the NFL. I never actually, growing up, I was always just, my goal was to be a college quarterback, and
Yeah.
that's what I wanted to do. I watched so much of it. And then, as I evolved and as I grew up and then, became more aware, it was like, okay, then I want to be an NFL quarterback after college. So, but that's the unique part of the journey, is that we all have different goals and dreams, and
Definitely.
we all have different mindsets and ideas that we want. But that's what I was able to do, and I knew about middle or about ninth, 10th grade that I could potentially play at the next level.
Yeah, well, listen, I mean, obviously, and like, well, I forgot my point I was going to make there. Well, either way, I'll go on to my next one, and it'll come back to me. Sorry, I'm blonde. I'm from New Jersey a little bit. All right, so wait, you hit on that there. When did you kind of, okay, so I feel like, hey, I'm a freshman, I'm a sophomore, I'm physically starting to like get it here. My body's coming along, okay? And then when did it start to go, okay, schools are starting to recruit for me? Oh, I understand what you're saying with your dad. I played with a lot of guys at Texas. Ultimate goal was Texas. They didn't even think about the NFL until all of a sudden their senior year in high school, right? And then they start to go, whoa, damn, wait, there's more football to be had after college. And your dad growing up in that and being a high school coach, I totally can understand that mindset. But to piggyback off of what I was saying a second ago, so okay, starting to make a name for yourself in high school. You're playing basketball still, doing all that stuff as well throughout high school. When did you start to get
Oh yeah, I
recruited?
played.
When did you start to hear from teams and everything?
So I played basketball and baseball up until I went to college.
Awesome.
I graduated early, so couldn't play basketball the last year. But yeah, I played different years. I played basketball and baseball, and that was fun, because that's the last times you get to play
Yeah, I'm with you.
the sports, and that's what you grew up doing. So that's the memories that you have. And I started to get recruited a little bit more after my freshman year, going into my sophomore year, and then it grew after that. I transferred schools after my 10th grade year, and in my junior and senior year were, I think, really good for my development. And I, had two good seasons.
And did you have dad coaching you at that point, your junior and senior
Oh
year?
yeah,
Yeah, like dive into
my
that a
my
little
dad
bit.
my
Yeah, how
dad
did that
coached
go?
me. My dad coached me from my eighth grade year on. My seventh grade year, I played middle school. started on seventh grade, and then when it was a mixed seventh and eighth grade game, I would play up with the eighth grade. But that was middle school, and then eighth grade, I started to play more JV, and then I was the backup on varsity, and about halfway through the varsity season, our quarterback got hurt, and so I was kind of the only person left, the only guy that could go out there and orchestrate a play and do something with the football. So my dad let me go out there and play varsity as an eighth grader. So he was my
Wow.
coach from eighth grade to 12th grade. So I got 5 years, with my dad, and it was not always easy. It wasn't always,
I'm sure.
fun. I definitely had some good days and some bad days, but I wouldn't be where I am today without having those years because I feel like I'm mentally tough because of the expectations and what he expected from me, but at the same time, he pushed me to a level I don't think I would have reached with another coach. So I think it was a good happy medium there, and I think it was the best for me.
Do you I want to ask you about some of your best arguments with your dad when it went down on the field, practice field. I mean, we know father-son relationship. I mean, damn, my dad won 2 Super Bowls. Sometimes we'd be out there throwing, and I'd be like, I don't want to hear you. You know what you're talking about, Dad. Whatever, right? We all
Mm-hmm.
know how that works out. But you got any like stories like that between you and your dad getting after it during a game or yelling or anything like that?
Oh, I got several. We never, or I was, you know, I was better during games. I was more respectful during games and didn't necessarily, change play or go out there and, be crazy. But, several times in practice, he'd make me mad and I would say something I probably shouldn't have, or, I wasn't always the most coachable, from him. I was a coachable kid, but not necessarily from him because I just wanted to do everything right for him. But, actually going into my senior year, the spring was so tough that my mom thought about, putting me in another school and having my dad coach and I just go play for somebody else. And I was like, no, you're crazy. That's never going to happen. I'm playing for my dad. And then things got better. And so it was always, those funny stories. He'd come home mad at me and I'd be mad at him. And eventually we'd both get over it and go to the next day or whatever. But it never was personal and it never boiled over to something worse. Thank goodness we had, a good personal relationship and we kind of kept it, from on the field to off the field. But I think, eventually my dad, it was about college. I came home one summer. I was like, Dad, you got to start training me again. I'm kind of, not getting enough development, while in the off season because college coaches can't coach you, so you're
Right,
just out there
right.
throwing. So I need some guidance. And we went out there one time, and he started coaching me. I was like, Dad, what are you talking about? That's not where that's not what we're doing now. And he finally was like, Look, I'm done. I'm gonna find you somebody that can train you. And we're gonna go somewhere else. He said I've maximized my coaching for you, and I'm gonna let somebody else do it. And sure enough, he hadn't coached me really since then. And so I've been training with David Morrison at QB Country, and I've seen a lot of growth from just the fundamentals and mechanics. And every once in a while, my dad will sneak something in and say, "Hey, tell him to do this or something," and
Yeah.
and that's what I hear. But that's all I really the coaching I get from dad
All
anymore.
right, that's cool. That's the way it's supposed to be. You're a grown man now. He's not supposed to be coaching you too much. Just little tidbits here and there. I love it. I love it. That hey, it all comes to that point where the dad finally just goes, "All right, the hell with it. I'm done. I can't talk anymore." I see. This is why I like to do these interviews because I learn things about guys, and the first thing I'm learning here is that one, you must have been pretty mentally mature to be able to be the varsity quarterback as an eighth grader, right? And totally into the game to be able to be that. I started on varsity as a freshman, right? Eighth grade is a whole nother level. So I can speak to that a little bit. And then you got to feel like having your dad there, him watching over you, coaching you tough, not treating you with like preferential treatment. You got to feel like that made you mentally tougher and made you more prepared for where you are right now. Am I correct by stating that?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely give my mental toughness credit to him, and it was because of the many days of practice. He was, very tough, and this is how you do it, and you did it wrong, and you got to do it again, and this and that. There was a point I was like, man, I'm never gonna get this. This is impossible. I'm never gonna be, good enough. But eventually, every year you grow and you get better, and then I'm starting to play good, and he's giving me compliments, and there was nothing better than that. But yeah, I remember several times, in eighth grade, I was out there, doing my best. I'd only played the game for technically 2 years, and we had seniors out there that would go up to him and say, "Hey, coach, you need to relax on Bo a little bit. You're being too tough on him." And so some of those older guys saved me. But yeah, it was fun, and I was definitely mentally tough, definitely challenged, and had to ultimately grow up pretty fast and be mature. I didn't really have a choice.
Yo, homies, what's up? I know it's the off season, but it's never the off season on Chris Simms Unbuttoned. Me and Ahmed Fareed are going to be here for it all. We got free agency. We're going to break it all down. The draft, the rankings of positions. Of course, we're going to unpack it all. Hit subscribe, get to my free agency reactions, 2024 draft rankings, and more. Thanks again for watching. Peace out, homies. See you soon.